Hello everyone, my name is Seraphi and I'm happy to meet you all. And today we're going to be playing Bujins. Bujins are a rank 4 Beast Warrior, Wing Beast, and Beast deck that has come out a long time ago. They didn't have their XYZ monsters until recently, but now we have a lot of really good cards that came out in Wild Spirits, including Bujin Torefune. So it's really exciting to play this deck, especially now that they finally have a skill. Originally, Bujins kind of could play maybe a skill like Fire Formation Swap, but now we have XYZ Light Rays. Much, much better. XYZ Light Rays, you can only use this skill if your extra deck contains a light XYZ monster. At the beginning of the duel, gain 1500 life points. That is extremely important. So this starts at the beginning of the duel, not your first turn. This means that you don't die to the Nurse Burn FTK. The Nurse Burn FTK can deal 4000 damage very easily. And if your opponent manages to exactly only use one of their coin tosses and then also get all three, then you have a 50-50 chance of either taking 6000 damage or 5000 damage. So Altergeist Overwrite or Life Point Boost Alpha will not save you in that specific instance, but XYZ Light Rays will save you half the time. So if your opponent even manages to get all three copies of their trap card and they set them all against you, even if you haven't played any cards at all, you still have a really good shot of surviving. The second effect is, once per turn during your main phase, you can choose one XYZ monster on the field. It gains 300 attack points until the end of the turn. If a light monster is on your field or in your graveyard, the chosen monster gains an additional 300 attack until the end of the turn. 600 attack points for any XYZ monster is really, really strong. It doesn't have to be a light monster as long as you have a light monster in the graveyard. Even if you don't have a light monster in the graveyard, it's still gaining 300 attack points, which is pretty good. And of course, if it's a light XYZ monster, it doesn't matter. It's already on the field. So this skill is really, really strong for Bujins. All their monsters are light. This is great. Let's take a look at the deck. Bujin Torefune. You contribute this card, special summon 2 Bujin monsters of 2 different types in the deck in defense position, except Bujin Torefune. When you XYZ summon a Bujin XYZ monster while this card is in your graveyard, you can equip this card to it, and any monster destroyed by battle with that equipped monster is banished. You can only use each effect once per turn. Okay, so Torefune is really interesting. You can use it with your Susanoo. Susanoo can attack every monster your opponent controls once each, so Torefune would allow you to banish your opponent's entire board. That can hurt a lot of decks. So Torefune, not only is it a 1-card XYZ, but it's also a very, very powerful follow-up card. You can get this card back with your Mahitots, which you special summon off the Torefune, so you can continue to use the play next turn. So 1 Torefune could potentially get you 2, 3, 4 XYZ monsters, depending on how many times you cycle it through. Definitely play this card at 3, it's very much worth it. If this card gets booked or if it gets negated, you basically lost your turn and you basically lost the game. Effect Veiler, I'm playing this card at 1. You could easily replace this with a 3rd copy of Bujin Mahitots. I don't have a 3rd copy of Bujin Mahitots at the moment. Probably will go back and get it if I decide that I want to play Bujins more. But they're in the same pack, so it's pretty easy to get 3 copies of Torefune and Mahitots at the same time. It's really cheap. But for right now, Effect Veiler is just a really good card. Bujin Mahitots. Level 4 Beast Warrior, you can send one other Bujin card from your hand to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand, and then you can use one of these effects. Send 1 Bujin from your hand to the graveyard to add a Bujin monster with a different name from your graveyard to your hand. So if you special summon Mahitots off of Torefune, then you can use Mahitots to toss a monster from your hand that you want in your graveyard to return Torefune to your hand so that you can use its effect next turn. Really good. Banish 1 Bujin monster from your graveyard, send a Bujin monster with a different name from your deck to the graveyard. Again, this would be a situation where maybe you don't want Torefune back, maybe you want a specific card in your graveyard like Keelan, so you banish the Torefune to specifically put Keelan in the graveyard so you can use its grave effect. Really, really strong to Foolish in this deck when the deck has so many grave effects. So yeah, Bujin Mahitots, a safe 3 of, really, really strong card, and you will definitely enjoy playing it. It also helps you get 2 XYZ monsters out at the same time if you need to. Bujingi Crane, Wing Beast, 1600-300. During damage calculation, if a Beast Warrior type Bujin monster you control battles an opponent's monster, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. The attack of that monster becomes double its original attack during that damage calculation only. Original attack points. So that means that if you use your skill, then Bujingi Crane does not apply to the skill part of it, which is kind of sad. But otherwise, this is a great way to get your Susanoo to win a lot of fights. Bujin Hirume, Level 4 Beast Warrior. Cannot be normal summoned or set. Must be first special summoned from your hand by banishing a Bujin monster from your graveyard, except Hirame. If this card, which was summoned this way, is destroyed by your opponent's card and sent from your field to the graveyard, and both players have a hand, you can discard one card, then your opponent discards one card. You can only control one Bujin Hirame. Okay, that is a cool effect. It's debatable how many copies of this card you want to play. I feel like I need more than one, but I'm not really sure what I would cut. So it's a really good card, don't get me wrong, and it's searchable, but it's just, I don't know what you would cut for this card if you wanted to run more than one copy of it. You can special summon it multiple times in a turn, you just can only control one at a time. Bujin Mikazuchi. This card is another card where you probably want to cut this for another Mahitotsu if you want to keep the effect filler. When a Beast Warrior type Bujin monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. And then once per turn, during the end phase, if a Bujin monster was sent from your hand to the graveyard this turn while you control this face-up card, you can draw a Bujin spell or trap. Pretty decent effect. Like, let's say that your Susanoo gets destroyed, Mikazuchi comes out, then you can use Fox's effect in the graveyard, banish it, send a card from your hand to the graveyard, you take no damage, Mikazuchi lives, and then you get to draw your Bujin Carnation for next turn or something like that. Pretty good. Bujingi Keelan. If you control a Beast Warrior or Bujin monster, you can banish this card from the graveyard, target one face-up card your opponent controls, and destroy it. You can only use this effect once per turn. That is a cool effect, and it's debatable about whether you want to play this card at more than one. I feel like one is enough. It's a really cool effect, but it's easy enough to get this card in the graveyard with your Mahitotsu and your Torfune, so you're almost always going to have it, and you don't really need to recycle it too often. It's easy enough to recycle because you can just attach cards that are from your banish zone with Amaterasu or by summoning them off of Bujin Carnation. So I feel like it's okay to just play this card at one. The effect is insane though. Use it every game. Bujingi Centipede. If you control a Bujin Beast Warrior monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one spell or trap your opponent controls, and destroy it. Fantastic. So just pop spells. Spells are really good in this game. Traps are really good in this game. Pop them. Bujingi Fox. During either player's turn, you can banish this card from the graveyard, send a Bujin from your hand to the graveyard, and you take no damage this turn. At all. No damage. Doesn't matter if it's battle damage, doesn't matter if it's effect damage, you just take no damage. Really, really insane effect. Definitely use this card to catch your opponent off guard. People do not recognize this card like they recognize Kite-Roid, so they're not going to play around it, and you just laugh at them. Bujingi Turtle. During either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that targets a Bujin you control, you can banish this card from the graveyard and negate the effect. Not once per turn. Insane. Plays at 2, it's really, really strong. You can special summon off of your Torfune, you can mill it with your Mahitotsu, make sure that you get around and most back row with your Turtle. It's just a really, really solid card. Lastly, for the monsters, we have Bujin Hiriko. This is a Pendulum monster. It is a Beast Warrior, also. You can banish this card from your Pendulum zone, target one Bujin Xyz monster you control, special summon from your extra deck one Bujin Xyz monster with a different name by using that monster as material. So the benefit of this card is that you can make your Amaterasu with only 2 materials. Amaterasu requires 3 Beast Warriors normally, but you can make a card like your Tsukiyomi. You can use Hiriko to banish Hiriko, turn Tsukiyomi into Amaterasu, then Amaterasu can target the Hiriko and special summon it. So excellent, excellent synergy there. Fire Information Teki, draw Torfune. Great. Bujin Carnation. If your opponent controls a monster, you control no monsters. Target one Bujin in your graveyard and one of your banished Bujins, special summon them both. They cannot be used as Xyz material for an Xyz summon, except for the Xyz summon of a Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast type monster. Then lastly, we have Bujin Condescence. Beast Warrior or Bujin monsters you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, except during the battle phase. That is amazing. So your opponent's going to try and pop your cards during the main phase with cards like Ultimate Fusion. That doesn't work, so they just waste their effects. Once per turn, you can send one Bujin monster from your hand or face-up a field to the graveyard, target one face-up card your opponent controls, and negate its effects until the end of the turn. That is not a quick effect, but it does work on any card, monster, spell, or trap. Very, very good effect. Being able to fix your graveyard, send cards from your hand to the graveyard without summoning them is extremely useful. You can send a card like your Keelan or your Centipede and then use their grave effects immediately afterwards. And then during your end phase, you can send this face-up card from the field to the graveyard, target one Bujin monster in your graveyard, and special summon it, which can summon an Xyz monster. So yeah, really good. Alright, for the extra deck, I do not have Ahashima, and I do not have Kagutsuchi, and the reason I do not have either of these monsters is because I did not go into the Explosion of Meteor box. Why? Because it was bad. The Explosion of Meteor box was bad. If you went in there, how many of those cards are you still playing? Probably not. But it's okay, we can still play Bujins without them. Abyss Dweller, really good card. Number 39 Utopia and number S39 Utopia the Lightning basically see play in every XYZ deck that uses lights. XYZ Light Rays will probably encourage people to play Utopia and Utopia the Lightning a lot more frequently than they have been. It's just a really good card. It has 5,000 attack points. It can crash in your opponent's monsters and they can't activate any card effects in response. So this is basically like the light version of Arc Rebellion, which is fine. Bujinte Susanoo. If you have Kagutsuchi, you would want to play probably like 2 Susanuos and 1 Kagutsuchi. Requires 2 level 4s. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. Once per turn, you can detach 1 XYZ material from this card, take a Bujin from your deck, and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. So this is great. You can Torfune to get a card you want in the graveyard on your field, then XYZ into Susanoo, detach the card that you want in your graveyard from Susanoo to draw another card, like for example your Hirame, and then you can summon Hirame and go into another XYZ, potentially really, really strong. So yes, Susanoo, great card. The ability to attack monsters you control once each is really, really strong, especially when you combine it with XYZ Light Rays to put it at 3,000. This is why we're playing the deck. XYZ Light Rays has made Susanoo so much better. 3,000 attack points versus 2,400 attack points, there's a huge difference. So we'll see that in the replay. Tsukiyomi, this card is bad, requires 2 level 4 lights. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, pitch your entire hand, and if you do, draw 2 cards. That's okay. If you have exactly 1 card in your hand, it's beneficial to you. When this card you control while face up on the field leaves the field because of your opponent's card effect, you can target level 4 Beast Warrior Bujin monsters in your graveyard up to the number of XYZ materials this card had on the field, and special summon those targets. That is a cool little effect, but it is not necessary to remove this card from the field by card effects because it's not particularly strong, easy to destroy in battle. And then lastly, we have Bujinki Amaterasu. You can only control 1 of these cards. Once per turn, during either player's turn, you can detach 1 material from this card and apply the following effect based on whose turn it is. If it's your turn, you can special summon 1 of your level 4 or lower banished monsters. And if it's your opponent's turn, you can target 1 of your level 4 or lower monsters that's banished and add it to your hand. Either effect is really good. You probably want to use your effect first, but solid card. Alright, let's take a look at the replay. This doesn't happen too often, but I actually wasn't really sure which replay I was going to use this time around because there were so many good ones. I really encourage you guys to watch the replay video tomorrow because there were a lot of really good situations where Bujins had some outs that I wasn't expecting. Alright, we are going second against Red Eyes Undead Reborn. Our opponent's going to activate their skill. They pitch Mizuki and Mizuki. Activate Zombie Reborn to revive the Mizuki. Banish the Mizuki from the deck. Zombie Dragon Lord to banish the Mizuki to special summon itself and pass. Okay, fair enough. It's our turn. We're going to activate Mahitotsu's effect. Send the Keelan from the hand to the graveyard, special summon it. Now we can use Keelan's effect to target the Zombie Dragon Lord and pop it. Zombie Dragon Lord is going to respond by targeting a Mizuki in the graveyard and special summoning it. And then he has the Al Ghul Mazera in his hand. So he banishes it from his hand to protect his Zombie Dragon Lord, and then special summons the Al Ghul Mazera. Well, that's unfortunate. Remember, Keelan is a hard once per turn, so we can't use this effect anymore. No more pops. Let's go. And we'll summon Torfune. Torfune tribute itself to special summon Fox and Mahitotsu. We're going to activate Mahitotsu's effect. We pitch the Mikazuchi from our hand to target the Torfune. And our opponent is going to chain Didi Crow. So they banish the Torfune from our graveyard before we can even return it to our hand. Very sad. We've been outed twice at this point. We activate the Hiroko's Pendulum Scale, and we are going to XYZ the Fox and the Mahitotsu into Susanoo. Susanoo, pitch the Fox to add Hirame to our hand. We will banish the Mikazuchi to special summon Hirame, and now we XYZ into Tsukuyomi. Then we activate Hiroko's effect, banish it, to XYZ the Tsukuyomi into Amaterasu. Amaterasu effect, we discard 1 card. To Amaterasu effect, we detach the Tsukuyomi to target the Torfune and special summon it. And now we activate our skill. We give Susanoo 300 attack points, plus 300 more attack points because we control a light monster. Susanoo now has 3,000 attack points, and it can attack every monster our opponent controls. Destroy 1, destroy 2, destroy 3, and then we attack directly for lethal. There you go. So our opponent was able to out 2 of our plays, they were able to protect their monsters, they were able to expand their board from 1 monster to 3 monsters, and we were still able to clear the board and kill our opponent in a single turn with just a special summon from the hand and a normal summon. That's the power of Bujins, the extension, and the extra attack points from the XYZ Light Ray skill. My name is Seraphi, and I was thrilled to have all of you with me.